Okay. Yep.
Hey, hey, Carl, here we are. It's
Hey,
Saturday evening in Tokyo, Japan. How you doing?
you good. You
Yeah,
oh
hanging in there. Huh? I just, I felt so bad today. I had some things to do and I couldn't get outside. Today was such nice weather, huh?
I am actually the opposite. I spent all day outside today. So
Good for
there
you.
was a local little bitty I guess you could call it matsuri, just like people hanging out outside, and it was, we had a little bit of shade, so it was perfect. Not too hot, not too
Yeah,
cold, not
yeah,
no precipitation, so it's
yeah.
nice.
Actually, looking at the news items, getting ready for this live stream, I came across a story 10 best things to do in Tokyo during Golden Week. And there seemed to be quite a few matsuri going on. Unfortunately, about half of them were like flower matsuri. So I don't
Hmm.
think those would go over very well on an action-packed channel such as this one. But there are a couple I got my eye on. If I feel motivated, I might grab my camera and go out too.
So for me, the flower. So once sakura is done, the next flower of the week is Fuji, and
Yeah.
so I've been, the ones that they hang down the vines,
Yep. Yep.
those purple ones, and
Yep.
I Fuji, like, out of nowhere, it's like
Yeah.
blooming all over the place. So.
Yeah. When I was living up in Tochigi, Fuji were all over the
Hmm.
place. And it's really wonderful when you run across a big Fuji bloom and
Hmm.
almost breathtaking, the very beautiful color. But not 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 video material. Oh, and the university where I go to teach up
Hmm.
on the hill right near the university, they have a big they have a small shrine that has an
Hmm.
azalea festival. That's very beautiful, very very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
mm.
I've been seeing azaleas around Tsutsuji, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's
So.
correct. That's correct.
So I
M-
had no idea what an azalea was before before coming to Japan. So
me me too. I
yeah,
it was I just call it flower. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, for all of our wonderful viewers, for Carl, I didn't warn you about this one. I would like to share something with you. This is like Christmas, your birthday, the 4th of July, whatever you're celebrating, the best day that you ever can imagine. And that is, ta-da! Oh, Carl, I got to get you up here. There you are. Okay. And here we go. Johnny Somali sent to jail in Korea. Isn't that great news? I was so happy to see this.
I'm almost embarrassed to say that I'm following this, but yes, I mean, I'm not sure that I'm following it. YouTube is following it for me, and then, when it's presented to me, I'm like, okay, what happened with that guy? So he seemed
Yeah, yeah.
quite obnoxious.
Yeah, and it's a good Zamamito serves them right
Hmm.
kind of situation. Though I would say that 6 months is rather light for
Yeah.
everything that he has done all over the world. And I read there's this one guy. I don't think he's a lawyer, but he follows legal things. I think it's
Hmm.
the name of his channel is Legal Mindset or something like that.
Um,
And he was saying that the prosecution could possibly appeal this case to get a harsher penalty. And I hope they do.
It's, again, I'm somewhat embarrassed that I watched the same video. So we're on the
Yeah.
same wavelength on the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess they said it could extend to 2 or 3 years. But
Yeah.
I guess I'm not sure if this is Legal Mindset's opinion or just my impression, but it feels like if it's only 6 months and he gets out, then he's not going to reform. He's going to
No.
just go right back to being annoying, and he'll probably leave Korea and then like thumb his nose at whoever after he gets out. So yeah.
I
It-
I heard, don't quote me because I'm not a Korean legal expert, but I heard that since one of his crimes that he was convicted of involved creating a deep fake video or something like that, a
mhm.
sexually
Yep.
oriented deep fake video, that he's now a sex offender. And if he returns to the United States, he will be legally obligated to register as a sex offender in the United States as well.
Well,
So
good for
we'll
him.
see what
And
happens.
I guess the thing is that he might, if he doesn't do that, then he might get in trouble in the States. I think that
Yeah,
was part of the same
yeah,
video. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, but good way to go, Korea. Don't mess around with Korea. It's
Mhm.
there are some tough people over there. Okay. All right. Here's a kind of like a public
Mhm.
service announcement to our GAIJIN friends here in Japan. And that is Japan Post is now accepting US bound packages over 1,000 or
It
100
looks like
US
100.
dollars. Yeah, 100 US dollars again. And they stopped accepting such packages in the past. It had something to do with Trump's executive order. I guess in August of last year, the Trump administration issued an executive order that ended tax exemptions for items valued at less than 100 USD or higher. And so they just stopped handling such packages, but they have now resumed, but they have new rules. And the rules are that for personal gifts and merchandise valued between 100 and 800 USD, customs fees must be paid in advance through an authorized app called Zonos Prepaid. And of course, letters and postcards and other printed materials aren't affected. Say, I'm wondering, Carl,
Mm.
oh, there we go. Finally, Ednoy. Hey, hi, Ednoy. No, I was wondering what happened. We're not getting any
Yeah, I was
comments
wondering
yet.
the same thing. Okay, we got a couple of
Yeah.
people who showed up. Hey,
Okay.
Ednoy.
Hi. Yeah. Yeah, we got about 4 people now. I'm
Hmm.
wondering too, because I almost made a mistake. I had to go out. I didn't have to, but I had a hankering to go out and check something out at the local electronics shop. And it was so light out still. So I thought it was, around 4 or 5 o'clock. And so I was going to take a walk, but I looked and it was past 6. So I guess the days are getting longer, which throws the internal clock for a loop. So maybe our usual guests are out enjoying the weather that we were talking about. But anyway, if you want to start sending your small packages to the United States, you will be able to do so again. They
I,
have that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, my guess is this is more about like shops. Like I think in the States, a lot of stuff gets sent from countries in Asia that they're under the limit, so they don't pay taxes. And I think uh, Trump wanted everybody to be paying their tariffs. Um,
Yeah,
so I mean, I don't obviously. I would assume that it applies to things sent by individuals as well as things sent by companies, but my guess is that the target of this is more to do with buying stuff overseas cheap and then sending it to the States without paying tariffs.
exactly. And I think, in fact, I'm sure, if I remember correctly, that Trump was specifically targeting China, as he likes to say. And
Mm.
a lot of cheap products were coming in duty free into the
Hmm.
United States, and he passed this to put some pressure on China.
Did,
Okay.
Do you ever buy cheap stuff from China and have it sent here to Japan?
Yeah, in the past, when some time
Guitar
ago,
picks or something?
pardon me?
Guitar picks, for example?
No, actually, I got a wireless microphone one time,
Okay.
and it only cost like 2,000 yen for two of them, and
Yeah.
I had an attachment I plugged into my iPad, and it worked really well for a while,
Mhm.
and then
I knew
stopped.
something was coming. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So, but I mean, well, anyway, I wonder about that. If all the cheap stuff is junk, or if some of it is good. I often wonder about that sometime.
I think it's hit
Yeah,
or miss at best.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Oh, we were talking about the long day. Ed Noy says that 4 minutes of daylight gain each day. Isn't that something? Okay.
but
All right.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say about the daylight. So for me, from somebody from Michigan, I'm in the west side of the time zone, and fairly far north. So it's like it stays light till 8:30 in the middle of the summer, whereas in Japan, I think it gets dark at 7:30, but it might get light by 4 a.m. or something, because of where Japan is in the time zone. And for me, it feels like such a waste of daylight that it's
Yeah,
light before anybody else is up. So, or
yeah.
before anybody is up. So,
You go
uh,
if you go down to Fukuoka at
mhm,
the longest day time of the year,
mhm,
it
mhm.
stays light almost. It stays light past 8 o'clock at night because
but
Japan's central time is the same everywhere, right? Mhm.
but that still feels like it's too early. It should stay light later.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and and,
yeah,
and who needs it to be light at 4 a.m.?
yeah. Oh, but that wasn't
So,
8 a.m. That was 8 p.m.
no, no, I know, but
Uh,
but it seems like and it may be different in Fukuoka than Hokkaido, but it
yeah,
just feels
yeah.
that the
Oh,
the the
sure.
light of day is wasted on the early morning when nobody's up.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So,
And it wakes you up too, by the way. The birds
Illinois
start
likes
squawking.
Illinois likes walking around at 5 a.m. and I can attest that I agree to that, especially in the middle of the
Mm,
summer when it's roasting. That's like the most comfortable time of day. So I
yeah.
understand what he's saying.
Well, if Ednoy isn't Ednoy afraid of walking into ditches or something like that? So maybe light at 5 a.m. helps him out there. Okay. I think that was Ednoy. It might
Yeah,
have been somebody else, but okay.
yeah.
Here's a real Japan piece of news here. Now this is actually an editorial. It's not a news report. But I don't care about Yomiuri's editorial stance, but I'm really interested in this imperial succession debate that's going on in
Mhm.
Japan. I don't know how much it is a debate among the people as much as it is a debate among the imperial household agency and the politicians.
Mhm.
And they seem to be really set on excluding female or matrilineal emperor line. And I'm not one of these saying, well, that's unfair because of women. So I don't want to get into that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
it's one of these topics that every once in a while I'm really surprised or puzzled why Japan wastes so much time debating topics that don't seem to really matter that much to me anyway. What do you think, Carl?
Um, I haven't thought about it too much lately. I guess um, when the emperor and the empress, when they didn't have a son, then this became a super important topic. And what I guess that's going on 10, 15 years ago when it became a super hot topic. Um, I like the other famous monarchies would be like Britain, and they've had queens. I guess men are preferred, but queens will do as well. And wasn't Japan's first empress a woman? Is that
Some
Himiko?
Himiko or Pimiko, depending upon the source. Yeah, and that's what I find. But I don't. I can't say.
Is,
Well, Japanese. Yeah.
is she part of the same lineage, or is that because I don't know enough about it, but um, yeah, I mean, I guess
I
it's
was talking about the emperor's lineage. I was
hmm
told I when I went to I took an archaeology class or two at Sophia University, Japan archaeology class,
hmm
and the guy there told us that there is a theory. Now, this is a
hmm
theory, and if any of our
hmm
Japanese friends are listening, don't get mad about this theory because some people do. But there is a theory that there were three warring tribes on the Korean peninsula: the Pakche, the Silla, and one other one, I can't remember the name. But
hmm
it seems that one of these tribes was defeated and close to being wiped out, and that they escaped and ended up in Kyushu, and that they were a warrior-like plan, and this warrior-like clan actually uh, became the Japanese imperial line. Now, I'm not saying it's true. I'm telling you what my archaeology professor told me. So, and
So your
he said,
professor didn't. I was going to say your
go ahead.
professor didn't even say it's true. It just your professor just said some people have this theory. Is that correct?
Sure, sure. It's an archaeological
hmm
theory, right?
hmm
And he said, according to that, to people who believe that theory, there are all of these imperial burial sites, burial mounds,
hmm
especially
hmm
in
Kofu.
Kansai. Yeah. And they're off limits to researchers and things like that.
Ah,
And
interesting.
and he said that some people say they're off limits because they're afraid of the Korean artifacts that may be discovered there. So whether that's
hmm
true or not. If anybody gets mad, let me know and I'll give you the guy's phone number. So, but
Yeah.
you were talking about 10 years ago and all this. Actually this editorial is filled with good information, and here it is. And it says that the number of people in the imperial family, which was 26 about 30 years ago, has now declined to only 16. Of these,
hmm
there are only 3 paternal line male descendants who are eligible to succeed the throne, and the only heir in the generation below the emperor is Prince Hisahito, 19, the son of Crown Prince Akishino, 60. Under the current imperial house law, if Prince Hisahito marries and does not have a son, the imperial lineage will come to an end. Isn't that something? And they say this was because this started to become a problem. Oh, did I lose it? It started to become a problem, as you said, some years ago. Was it 10 years ago or 15 years ago? Because they cut down the number of imperial family branches, and they said that a woman gets married, she has to leave the imperial family and all that kind of stuff. So they're talking about changing the imperial, who's eligible to be in the imperial lineage. They've been talking about that.
Yeah, I had heard that, but I was just mentioning the fact that the current emperor and empress only have one daughter, so that made
Mm.
the issue super important. But yes,
Yeah,
I heard that there are more houses. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology. Um,
yeah,
Basically, a larger imperial family, and so if you didn't have a male heir from one of the couples, then you could go to a
yeah,
different one. And so there's this is not the appropriate expression to use, but I guess backups. Um,
yeah, yeah,
so, which I
yeah,
guess by paring it down, then they have reduced, or another word again, not appropriate, but like redundancy. So,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I think that people naively think that the emperor and empress for 1,000 years or more have always had a son that survived, and that became the emperor. And I think in most cases they have, but I think not in all cases. And so they've used the system to keep the line
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to address one comment that caught my eye,
Mm.
and that's by Ed Noy. And Ed, there was a certain Nagoya live streamer who did fall into a ditch during a live stream, busted his leg. I think you're talking about Victor. Give me a break, man. Is that who you're talking about? Victor's an old acquaintance of mine, and when I don't know if he broke his leg, but he did fall into a ditch, and he had a video of it, and I sent him a message after that, and I said, some people will do anything for clicks. So,
Mm-hmm.
and about this empress thing, Muhammad says 1300 BC, we had a queen in Egypt, Nefertiti, and many others. So no problem with a female ruler. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Schindler says, yeah, this is, Japanese people say it's an eternal dynasty. But it's interesting that the imperial family is dealing with a issue that is actually an issue for the entire country. I mean,
Choshika. Yeah.
yeah.
So the low birth rate. Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, that was part of my interview with Nobita the other day. I'll talk about that at the end of the stream.
Okay. They don't know. Okay.
I might have said something the last live stream, but I'll go into detail at the end of the stream.
Sure.
We'll do the news stories first.
Wait till the end for important information.
Yeah, that means everybody will stay here to see what I have to say, I'm sure.
Yes.
But those of you who do stay here, I would like to remind you to please subscribe, like it. See, I'm getting better and better at this. I'm a sneaky, slick dude. Okay. All right. I've got another news story that I'm just going to reference for no other reason, just so I can get a dig in here. And that is 13 men arrested over Indonesia-based fraud ring. Tokyo Metropolitan Police have arrested 13 Japanese men on Thursday morning for their alleged involvement in a cryptocurrency fraud ring operating out of Indonesia. The men were taken into custody after their transfer flight from Jakarta touched down at Haneda. These guys would pose as police officers on the phone, and they would swindle they swindled one woman out of 8 million yen of cryptocurrency. Yeah, bad looking guys. This bust marks the first time Japanese authorities have cracked down on a domestic scam syndicate based in Indonesia. And what they were doing is called tokushu sagi, which means specialized fraud, where the fraudster impersonates an authority figure or a relative. And, these days, the Yakuza don't have their usual sources of income, and so there a lot more are going into tokushu sagi. The reason I laughed when I saw this was, I wonder if Indonesians complain about all these GAIJIN criminals that are running around their country. Or another thing that I thought of, that's why Japan's crime rate is so low. They all go to other countries to commit crimes. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
I see.
Unless you've got something.
I guess, well, I thought this was a more serious take on this one, but I guess, these kinds of frauds are constantly evolving. Ore sagi, that feels like that was like coming into its own when I first arrived in Japan. And it seems like there's always a new twist or, now cryptocurrency. So, yeah. Have you known anybody who was victimized by fraud, by the way?
I was told by my sister back in the
Mm-hmm.
States that my mother almost was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She got a call. She got a call from a guy. It's me, kind of thing.
Okay, so it's the American version of Ore Ore Sagi then.
Yeah, and she was convinced that it was her grandson,
Mm-hmm.
and the scammers told her, "Well, I'm in Chile or something like that, or Brazil, and they arrested me, and I need money to bail myself out." And she was worried, and luckily she talked to my sister about it, and she was told, "Don't do that." Hmm.
Let him rot in prison. Serves him right.
Yeah, let him rot in prison. No good. The funniest one that I ever heard of, this was in the news. A Japanese woman sent a bunch of money to an account. The fraudster told her he was an astronaut and he was up in the space station.
Station, yeah.
Yeah. And that something happened and he had to pay this money, but he couldn't get to his money because he was up in the space station. So please send this money, millions of yen, over here to pay my debt. And I'll pay you back as soon as I get back. And evidently she did. I don't know if that's a fake news, but I do remember reading a news story like that. Hmm.
Hmm. I mean, as somebody who doesn't have dementia, as far as I know, it feels like it's silly to fall for those things. But, my guess is at some point you lose your ability to make what seem to normal people as, obvious judgment, and then
Yeah.
you get caught. So
Yeah. It's a
really,
pitiable, yeah. It's a pitiable situation.
I mean, I
And
guess with an aging society, then, maybe there's increased risk. So,
yeah.
and I'm sure with AI, they're going to get better and better. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And every time we adapt to their scams, they come up with
mhm.
something new. So make me a promise, everybody. I'm getting up there. So if I ever start, like drooling on camera or something like that, let me know. Or better yet, everybody, what do they call it? Unsubscribe. And then I'll get the message. Uh-oh, better get out of this game.
Sure.
Okay. Have you ever been approached by a scammer, Carl?
Uh, okay, so I wasn't aware of this at the time. I went on a cruise like after I graduated high school. This is a cruise like we left from Florida. We went to a bunch of different Caribbean islands. And I think I was in Puerto Rico, and this woman came up to us and explained how she had lost her passport and she didn't have money to get back to the States. And me being a naive kid, I'm like, oh, okay, well, here you go. I hope you get back. And I don't remember how much we gave her, maybe $100 or something like that. My guess is, a fair chunk of the change that I had on my pocket, in my pocket at the time. So my guess is, looking back at it now, that was probably a scam. No violence was involved, so that was a good thing. And if it was $100, it's $100, not 1,000 or whatever, 8 million yen. So yeah, it's not only the elderly who are victims of
Yeah.
scams.
Yeah.
So,
And as Bo Lee points out, it's not only dementia. I
mhm.
worked in
Yeah.
IT, and I can tell you how many people fall for computer scams. You have been hacked. Click this link, and we'll stop the hacker.
Oh,
Yes.
we had a close call on one of those. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
you need to send us $600 for this virus protection because your computer's been infected with a virus. I think it was infected with a virus, but the virus was sent to call them so that they could collect their money.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
never fallen for one of those, click this link scams. But I know one company that I know that I was doing work for. One of the members
Hmm.
did, and I kept getting these emails from them. This to
Yeah,
spread.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, almost every day, a couple times a day. Finally, they were able to figure it out and get used to it. I'll tell you another one. Before this channel, I used to have another channel, but it was always very tiny. But I did this one video about Kamikoto knives, and some American streamer picked YouTube channel picked it up and mentioned it. And I got, like in one day I got like 6,000 views. The next
Nice.
day the next day I got about 2 views. So it just very blah, and then finished. But anyway, right after I got those views, I got an email that said, we are this so and so game developer, and it was a very famous company, game developer company, and we're coming out with this new game, and it's going to be a big hit, and we're looking to we want you to put ads on your videos, and we're ready to pay you as much as you want, and all this kind of stuff. How much do you want? Which, like these days, my age, my situation in life, that would be like a 20-year-old, 22-year-old girl coming up and say, "Hi, I like you." I probably turn around and run the other way. But so I didn't fall for it. And there was a link. They said, "Oh, click this link and we'll send you a package with our terms and conditions and an example of what we're looking for." But I didn't do that. And I checked it out and I found out that that's a popular scam. In fact, that's
Yeah.
what I did. I sent an email to the actual company, the famous
Okay.
company, and they wrote back and said, "Nope, wasn't us." So, yeah.
Actually, that brings me up. So, people are like you were thinking, well, maybe this is a fraud scam, so you don't respond. You know,
Yeah.
like when, to be honest, whenever the phone rings, I kind of assume it's a scam, right?
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
it shows up in caller ID. But
Yeah.
if we think about 30 years ago, like people just called each other, and that was like, and people answered the phone, whereas now they don't, and so it's almost as if a certain form of communication has been taken off the table, which is kind of sad, but uh, anyway, I guess that's evolution. That's how things go.
Not only that, please think of it. They used to publish books with
Yeah,
everybody's
right.
name, address, and telephone in it. Unthinkable
Yeah,
these days, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's another
Well,
scam. Everybody
they
watch out.
publish it. It's just that you have to pay a guy to get the number.
Yeah. So have no money to return home scams. Yep. I think I mentioned, was it in this live stream, that famous Japanese guy, that GAIJIN who used to write about Japan, pretty famous guy, and he was right. He wrote, I think he wrote one article for me or something like that, and then I got a message from him saying, I'm in jail. They got all my money and I lost my wallet. Send money quick. So I don't think it was the real guy, Boyd Dement or something like that. Somebody here
Boyd
mentioned
Demente.
him. Yeah, yeah,
But because I read some of his books when I first got interested in Japan. I want to say
yeah,
Tuttle was the publisher.
yeah,
He probably
yeah,
these like Boyd Demente Japan guides. Oh, that's cool. So
yeah,
you met the guy.
yeah. Well, what happened was I had a very popular Japan centric blog, similar
Hmm.
to this channel actually, and uh, I got an email cold. Hi, my name is Boyd Demente, and I'd like to write articles. And I had a lot of guest writers doing stuff. And so everybody said, "Yeah, man, that's great. He's so famous. So I said, "Yeah, okay." And like I said, I don't remember if I ever published something of him or not. But suddenly I got this email from the person claiming to be him saying,
Hmm.
"Hey, I'm in trouble. They've got my money. I don't know what to do. Can you send me something and to help me out?" So that might have been a scam because I don't,
Sure,
I'm not going to accuse Boyd Demento of doing anything like that. Right.
sure.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Ed Noy points something out. And I remember this when I was a kid. There was a
Mhm.
time when 2 or 3 homes shared a telephone line, the party line.
Oh yeah, I mean, I never experienced it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Um,
When I was a kid, you'd pick up the phone to call somebody, and if you could hear somebody talking, you hung up and waited for a while and listened
or
again.
if you were curious, you were just very quiet
Yeah,
and you kept listening anyway.
yeah. But nobody did that kind of thing back then. Yeah,
Of course.
yeah, and then, yeah, they were called party lines. Okay,
Yep.
all right, let's move right along. This is one. This is one that, like I said, I talked to good old. Excuse me. I'm screwing up my button clicking here today a lot. I think this is going to be okay. Uh, uh, uh.
Butterfingers.
Worse than Butterfingers, mental problem. Uh,
Hmm.
um, defense budget. Now, this is something that Nobito asked me about, what I thought about this,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty surprised at something here. Now, let's look at this. Japan's defense budget to reach 1.9% of GDP in fiscal 2026. And they're talking about roughly 1.9% of 2022 gross domestic product. And they have set a goal of 2% by 2027. And this is a notable shift from the long-standing practice of keeping defense spending around 1% of GDP.
Hmm.
I was pretty surprised about this. I didn't never, I knew, Japan was spending on defense and increasing, but I didn't know that it had been such a low percentage of GDP until now.
And,
Trump is pressing
mhm,
NATO to go 5,
mhm.
so
Um, so, right, I was going to say, do you know what the percentage is for other countries? I'm pretty sure the United States is number one by a long shot, not
yeah.
only because they've got the most hardware and personnel, but also because the prices are, probably inflated compared with, my guess is an American tank is a lot more expensive than, one from some other country.
Yeah.
Um, so, and my guess is that, I, I'm not 100% sure, but my guess is a lot of the hardware that Japan would be spending this budget on would come from the United States.
Yes.
Um, and obviously, developed domestically as well. But that's another thing where, like, for example, if Trump is saying spend more, it's spend more and, send some of that our way too. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, mhm. Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. I was going to
I
say,
read that.
sorry, it's a low percentage. Um, it's not for me to say how much defense they need, but I guess if it's super low and you raise it to low, I don't know. Again, it's not for me to decide.
No, it's for Trump to decide. Well, I read another article that says Japan has 4 Aegis. They're not destroyers. What's next under a destroyer?
I
But
guess it's
anyway,
Aegis Con, but Aegis ships, right? So which are
yeah,
uh,
the,
they have lots of radars and stuff like that
yeah.
for sensors.
They
Yeah.
they might have called them Aegis cruisers. I don't know, but
Hmm.
but anyway,
Sure.
they have 4, and one of them just left the United States after being fitted to fire Tomahawk missiles. And the other 3 are also scheduled to be fitted to fire Tomahawk missiles. And Japan is slated to purchase 1,600 Tomahawk missiles from the United States in the upcoming years. And the article I read was very, very careful, very diligent to say defensive Tomahawk missiles.
Hmm.
Yeah, with a
So,
range of
t-
1,600 miles.
1600 sounds. So my impression is defensive usually is quite short range.
Yeah.
Are Tomahawks, are they cruise missiles? So like basically they
Yes.
fly like a really low flying airplane, and then they've got
Yes.
GPS to send them where they're
Yes.
going. So
Yes.
they're not interceptors like the
Yes.
Patriot missiles.
No. No.
Okay.
And it's either it's 1600. I can't remember if it was miles or kilometers. So that's a big difference, right?
Well, 1600 kilometers would be 1,000 miles, a round number. So it's possible that that's the one.
Yeah, and that's it. I was so surprised that it was so low in the past. I thought it was is much higher. We got this. Schindler says U.S. is spending about 3.5% of its GDP, and that 2% is the same level as EU countries. Okay. All right. And Ed Noy is up to his old tricks again too. So anyway, yeah, you were going to say
it would be nice if increasing defense budget stimulated the economy as well. It's two birds with one stone there, but who knows?
But somebody Schindler says that the problem with Japanese defense industry is that their domestically made weapons are very expensive compared to EU, US, and Korean counterparts. But I saw another article that I unfortunately didn't include in my collection here, saying that Japan will be selling Japanese domestically made warships to Australia. They're going to sell a total of 5. 2 or 3 will be built in Japan, and the remaining number, another 2 or 3, I can't remember what, will be built in Australia. So Japan's, they are trying to gear up their defense industry. So, but that's a good point, Schindler. Okay. One more. The reason is quite simple. Japan does not export its weapons, thus losing in terms of economy. Yeah, but I heard that they're going to start doing it.
Start going to increase to get the economies of scale. So more weapons.
More weapons.
just to get the discount.
Yeah. Okay. So defense budget. All right. Let's move along. Now, this one, I didn't know much about this. And when I read this, I first said, what does this mean? That the Japan ruling parties agree on a plan to curb spousal pension benefits system. So I did a little bit of research, and I was surprised about this. Number one, I wasn't surprised that there's such a system, but I was surprised that with Japan suffering from the things that it's suffering, that they would want to scale it back or eliminate it. Now, they're saying that the LDP and Nippon Ishin, the Japan Innovation Party, JIP, Japan Innovation Party, JIP. I'm glad they didn't call it. I'm glad they didn't call it the Japan Action Party or something like that. But anyway, they agreed on April 13th to move forward with discussions towards scaling back the Category 3 insured person pension system that covers spouses as part of Social Security reform. Now, Category 3, in case there are 3 categories. Category 1 are self-employed, freelancers, and students. They're Category 1. They pay their own premiums out of their earnings. Category 2 are people working for companies, as salaryman and full-time workers, and premiums are deducted from their salary, and I think it's like 50-50 with an employer contribution. Yeah. And then Category 3, discussed here, and these are dependent spouses of Category 2 workers. So if you're, I guess, husband, or if you're a house husband, your wife in these days, but in past, in Japan, you're the spouse of somebody who's a category 2 person, you were also had a right to a pension eventually, even though you are not contributing to the pension system. Okay.
Yep.
So, and they explained it here. The category 3 system allows spouses with an annual income of 1.3 million yen, under 1.3 million yen, who are dependents of a company worker to receive basic pension benefits in the future without having to pay premiums. It was created about 40 years ago to enable full-time homemakers to acquire pension rights on their own. So, and they say this has caused a problem because some dependent spouses cut their work hours or refuse more work because they don't want to go over the 1.3 million threshold, which would make them ineligible for pension payments. So the talk now, especially the Japan Innovation Party, is saying they want to eliminate the system completely. That and I thought when I read that, yeah, the JIP has advocated abolishing Category 3, and the coalition agreement already included a pledge to review the system. That doesn't mean it's going to be eliminated, but they're going to take a look at it, right? Now, I thought that this is strange with the falling birth rate and the falling marriage rate. They're going to make stay-at-home momism less attractive than it already is. So why, if it's the fact that people are refusing work, why not raise the threshold a bit?
And so instead of the 1.3 million cutoff, let's say, just picking out a number, 2 million, and then the housewives can work up to 2 million a year, and then they'll stop. But they can still be a housewife, and they can still get the pension benefit like they've been getting so far. So I guess there's one problem is that there are people who could work, who want to work, and then choose not to work because, like working a little bit more means you end up, at the end of the day with less. But then changing the system like this, it's basically, it feels like up until now they say, okay, you being a housewife supporting your husband and letting him work until late at night, sort of the Showa stereotype of the working salaryman. They're saying to the wife, your work is not valuable, so you don't get any benefits for staying at home.
Exactly.
So yeah, actually, I mean, I like your idea, raising the limit.
Actually, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if they just don't have any money in the system, then reducing benefits is a way to reduce, expenditures. But that's not what they're saying, right?
Yeah, right. Well, my point of view, and I got into a big debate about this with my friend, my friend and discussion partner, and you know who that is. But I am really confused at times, and this is a general. This is not so much Japan, but this is a general point of view, and I'm going to put it out there and open it up for discussion if you like. There's all this talk these days about work-life balance, all right? And people saying, well, if you're working 10 hours a day, you don't have a life, and this kind of thing, as if work is not part of life. And I know what they're saying, I know what their point is. But, they're saying, if you're working, you don't have all the time, you don't have a life. And then here are these housewives, these mothers staying at home, taking care of the family. And it's like the government is saying, well, you're not working, so you don't have worth or something like that. And even though they are working, but it's really strange, especially more not just housewives, but this double income thing these days. Women
Mhm.
have to go, women have to work in order to have a meaningful life, but only working is not a meaningful. It's really strange logic, and I know that they're saying, well, then it's not work, it's overwork that they're talking about. But still, this the logic to me is really strange. Yeah.
I do feel that a lot of young women, uh, one of the reasons that they postpone or uh, ultimately don't get married is because they value their career. And in order to progress in their career, they have to be able to, you know, work until 10 p.m. if the company wants them to. Maybe this is maybe this is not current in 2026, but um, yeah, I think Japan more than other countries working, basically you have very little private time. And again, this may be changing in 2026 compared with, 1996. But yeah, uh, hmm.
Yeah, but in that regard too, though, like this double income, dual income,
Hmm.
husband and
Hmm.
wife both working,
Yep, yep.
and in the past, just the husband was working. And when just the husband was working on his salary, you could buy a house, buy a car, send your kids to college, have a real comfortable life, maybe have a cabin up in Michigan.
Hmm.
That's what Chicago people did anyway. And
Sure, up
where did
north. Yeah.
yeah, where did you guys have cabins in Chicago? Yeah.
No, Harbor Springs in
Okay.
upstate Michigan. We
Okay.
we didn't go over to the other side of the lake to go
Yeah.
up north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was the way it was, very definitely. So now that both both the spouses are working, boy, things should be twice as good, twice as luxurious.
Two houses and two cottages up in
Yeah,
Harbor Springs, right?
yeah, yeah. But you see a lot of people, and I'm not just saying white collar workers, even your blue collar workers were able to have a very nice life, but I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't know. I wonder if it's a kind of governmental scam that they pulled to have two taxpayers instead of one. But that's a little bit over the top.
So I think it was George W. Bush in the States where they amended the tax code basically to, I think the words they used were to eliminate the marriage penalty.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so, uh, you know, I guess I would be in favor of a system where you're not penalized for being married.
yeah,
In fact, if anything, you should be in, incentivized to be
yeah,
married.
yeah.
Um, wasn't that wasn't what was it called, the marriage tax?
Yeah,
Did we talk about that on this channel?
something like that. Yeah, yeah,
Um, what was it? Oh, because now everybody has to pay an additional fee. I think it's out of their insurance payments that's going to go to support children, like bringing up children.
yeah.
And then all the single people are like, "Well, that's unfair because I don't have children and I have to pay to support children." My feeling is the country needs children, so uh, everybody should everybody should pitch in.
And I already raised my kids, and I paid for them. Do I get
Yeah,
do I get a refund?
Japan still needs more kids, so I guess
Okay.
I guess the problem with the system, the Seido coming out now is, you missed out, but life's not fair, and then you
Yeah.
die.
Japan needs more children. I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't, as we used to say.
Sure.
Retired life is so much better, folks. Yeah. Yeah. There's one guy, there's one commenter. I wish he'd come along he'd be good in this discussion. There's one commenter who said in a recent discussion, the secret to life is doing just enough to stay legal, to keep the Japanese. He was talking about in Japan, work just enough to earn enough money to make exactly the threshold. Don't do any more, because if you do more, you're going to get taxed for it anyways. So he was one of these.
Well, that's exactly what they're talking about in this article, right? So all the people who are like, I'm not going to work more because then I'm going to pay more taxes and end up with less, or it's going to be less of a good deal.
Yeah.
So.
Or like what I heard some guy, a successful life is when you enjoy everything that you earned, and the check for your funeral bounces, which I thought was pretty funny. And my wife being Japanese, I told her that, and my wife being Japanese says, "Oh, but what about your poor family?" So it's a, it's a joke. It's not a plan. All right. There you go. I mean, I can agree. I can get behind this idea. Yes. Very, very true. In fact, I
was going to say, in your experience, maybe you were freelance, so the time didn't really matter, but did they pay anything additional for overtime, or was it basically you just got 1x for overtime? Or nothing?
Long ago, I don't believe they paid. If they did pay, it wasn't much. I don't think it was anything like time and a half or double time or anything like that.
Actually, I think so two things. A lot of companies have something called kote zangyo. So like they assume you're going to do 20 hours and they're going to pay you for 20 hours in a month. And if you do more or you do less, well, that's like it's going to come out in the wash. And presumably you always do more. And then the other one is I heard of a company where the hardworking employees, once they they were only allowed to work 20 hours of overtime. So they had time cards. And so when it was 1 hour of overtime, they would always punch out and keep working. So that's the old system. Yeah.
I used to work for a company, a major Japanese company, as a shokotakushain. And it was a publicly traded company on the first section. But it was basically a family-owned company. One family had almost all, not almost all, but a massive amount of stock. And I could remember, I think I've told you this story before. I could remember these guys getting ready for the monthly sales meeting, staying until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, putting together the documents that they needed about sales and stuff, sales figures. And then the next morning, they would submit a request for overtime pay to the bucho, the department head. And I saw this happen. The bucho would picked it up, looked at it, nodded, ripped it up into small pieces, and threw it into the garbage can. So
that's not the time or time and a half. That's the 0x for overtime.
Yeah.
Pretty
high turnover at that company.
I was going to say, in the old days, you really weren't supposed to quit at all. But if that happened all the time, I would feel like quitting.
Yeah. So Schindler points out something that was pointed out in the article too, as a matter of fact. If category 3 is abolished, it's going to affect millions of housewives. And that's, the political side of that is very, very serious. But you know how Japan does things like that? I think, all of us have been here long enough. What they'll do is they'll announce a plan to gradually do away with it, abolish it, starting 5 years in the future or something like that. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there and go, huh, what happened? Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Schindler says, "Don't do more than 10 million." Was that maybe that was you who said that in the thing? Okay, in the discussion. A full-time employee of the okay. Oh, I'm doing what I said I wasn't going to do. All right. And Richard is agreeing with you, so I'll show this one. 20 hours a week overtime. 20 hours a week, we got paid the same no matter how few hours we worked. We only got overtime if we passed something like 22 hours. All right. And yeah, they do take obligated paid leave. And Greg points out that working off the clock is actually illegal in Japan. Yes. Not Japan,
doesn't mean it
but
doesn't
in America.
happen.
No, I shouldn't say in Japan. He said the U.S. My mistake. Okay. Yeah, I think I think that I think employers and the smaller the company, the bigger the abuse. But employers abuse their workers. The large companies have a hard time getting away with abuse because if it becomes public or if an employee complains to the government, they can get into a lot of trouble. But smaller employers, I think somebody said there was some lady in the video comments that said she was really being abused by her employer. And some other commenter said, well, that's the way it is for up to a certain level of capitalization. They can get away with murder. Yeah.
I heard this was, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. A friend of mine, a Japanese guy who was working at one of the major companies, and their policy was kind of like after a certain time, everybody quote unquote punches out, and then they would stay on, and after that it was sabis zangyo. But at one point they were trying to crack down on that, and then I guess people from the Ministry of Labor, Health and Welfare, or whatever it was called at the time, came in and checked to make sure that there was nobody who was punched out but still at the office. So sometimes, or at least at certain times in Japanese history, then they make a larger effort to crack down on that stuff.
Well, I know. I was working for another big company that was much more publicly traded. And when the government started talking about too much overtime and stuff like that, they used to just shut off the lights and the air conditioning at a certain time. And that got people out of there. Right. Okay. There's another one. Again, oh, yeah. The Schindler said basically what I saw. Large companies are constantly on the radar. Yeah, this is true. And the strong trade unions. That's also another true fact. Okay, we got one more on this. The biggest way that Japanese companies get away with their abuse is to use contract workers. Bing bong. These gig work gigs, right? They get paid low wages and aren't very well protected. There's some movement to protect them more. There was this rule that they came up with. If you have a part-time worker that goes over 5 years, you have to make them a full-time worker. And they got around that by firing people.
It kind of, yeah, I heard about that. So basically, these people couldn't work at the same place for more than 5 years before, they would basically have to be let go.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to start over every 5 years. So it seemed like
they did. They used to do that. I don't know if they still do, but they used to do that at universities too.
I know somebody who, I think that's changed because I know somebody who's in that situation, and I think he's still working.
Yeah. I had a friend who worked at they had to call in advance and make an appointment to check on a company. Woo!
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they then they make sure it's okay. Today is no Zangyo Day. Okay.
I was at a company one time, one of the big companies I used to work for long ago, when it was raided by the Labor Standards Office for price fixing. And the Labor Standards Office did not call in advance. What they did is they came into the office and put official tape on all the desk drawers. and you couldn't get into the desk drawers. But what happened was one of the OLs, office ladies, this is how I found out something was going on. She came running into my English teaching office, which was a separate place, with these big bundles of documents, and she started hiding these documents in my classroom. So
and you're like, oh, you're from the you're from the labor department. I got something I want to show you.
Well, that was that was something I think I was not supposed to see. But and I'm not saying that they were breaking the law, but I just tell you what I saw. They were putting individual documents into calendars and then rolling the calendars up and putting them into tubes. Anyway, yep, this is true. Contract workers and dispatched workers.
Actually, get it really hard. I was going to say about that last comment. My opinion / theory is that the increase in contract and dispatch workers, I want to say from Koizumi the father, I want to say around 1995. So it was companies hired many more people under this status, and it made it so that people had less lifelong employment guarantees. And my feeling is that change has contributed to people's perceived insecurity about their job, and that has contributed to lower rates of marriage and lower birth rates. If you're not sure that the guy you're marrying is going to have a job in 10 years, if you're not sure that you're going to be employed 10 years from now, you might say, well, I don't know if I can afford to have a kid because what if I lose my job?
Yeah. Well, long ago when I first got in the translation business, the life of a freelancer or a contract worker was subcontractor, I should say, was really, really brutal, because you would submit an invoice and the invoice became due like 3 months later. And some companies tried to pay with so-called tegata, which was a promissory note, which was not due for another 2 or 3 months. And then also, like if it was a translation project, you'd be in the middle of a translation project, big translation project. You'd get to the end of the month and they'd say, well, you can't bill that because the project's not finished yet. That was changed by the Subcontractors Act of Japan. You have to pay for the amount of work that was done in each month. But anyway, you could end up waiting a year to get paid. And some of the promissory notes went bad, or you could sell them off to some agency that they would discount it X percent. It was really, really, really bloody way back when. Okay.
But publishing is, I mean, like if you work on a book and then the book doesn't get published until, like a year later, and then you have to still wait like another couple months, or sometimes, they print the books and then they go to bookstores, and then it's like another certain period before they decide, like it's called Tanaoroshi, where they check to see how many were actually sold to consumers, and then they pay based on that, and sometimes it could take a long time. So I totally understand what you're talking about.
I'd like to address one thing, because this affects the entire channel. Ed Noyes says he tried to post a blurb about eyelid surgery in our community section, but not sure if it posted. If it did, good. If it didn't, I just want to let you know, YouTube does its own monitoring of everything. And if it runs across something it doesn't like, YouTube takes it upon themselves to delete it. So I do delete things, but I don't delete anything about eyelid surgery. I delete egregious insults. I don't think it's up to me to maintain a site where I can be insulted. But I just wanted to let you know. I just wanted to make that clear. If you ever post something and you don't see it, it's 99%, probably close to 100%, that it wasn't me who removed it.
So you're not a free speech absolutist then?
No, no. Only for myself.
Right. You're free to
Okay.
have any opinion as long as I agree with it.
Okay. Good for you. Daikigyo, a good way to go. Okay. All right. I've got another one that to me was a really, really interesting thing. And again, it's going to be, it comes from an editorial. It comes from an editorial from our comrades over at the Asahi Shimbun. So you can probably tell the bent of the editorial. And this is their come on, how are we going to do this? Okay, sorry. Their Vox Populi, Takaichi backing GSDF member at LDB convention, a slap to the people. A slap to the people. That sounds like real Asahi
fighting
language,
words.
kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of language. There she is. No comments on what she looked. There during the Wednesday live stream, people started commenting on her looks, and somebody got irate about that. Now, what happened was on April 12th in Japan, a uniformed ground self-defense force member sang the Japanese national anthem at the ruling Democratic Party's convention in Tokyo. Let me make that a little smaller so it all fits. So, whoop, that's not how you do that. You got to click over here first and pick on. Okay. Now, political activities by SDF members are strictly regulated by the Self-Defense Forces Law. And so it says naturally. Now, that sounds like Asahi speak.
Yeah.
They say, naturally, excuse me as I click around and screw things up. Okay. Naturally, the members' actions raise questions about her political neutrality. But Takaichi said, no, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And she insisted that the member was attending the convention as a private citizen and that there is nothing wrong with her singing the national anthem. And they say in other countries too, including the United States, the activities of military personnel in uniform are strictly regulated. But I think we all know that in the United States, military personnel in uniform often sing the national anthem at various different activities. I don't know about political party conventions or things like that, but I wouldn't be shocked if it happened. And I'd like to throw this out to general discussion. This is the one that we'd like to do as a general discussion item, because I'm sure that there are various different we've got her looks. Just wanted to get back to the cosmetic surgery. Oh, okay. And Sanai has taken full advantage of this. What, cosmetic surgery? I don't know. But okay, so here's the first. Okay, that was an LDP convention, unrelated to the government. In this case, uniformed service members are restricted from visiting such event. Are they? Are they? What does it say? What does the political activities by SDS strictly okay? I don't know what the Self-Defense Forces law is. I didn't have a chance to look it up before coming online today. But does it say that they can't attend political functions, political party functions in uniform? I don't know.
I would think so. First of all, as you said, in the United States, somebody wearing a uniform, singing the national anthem. So the national anthem is the national anthem. It doesn't seem like it's the Republican anthem or the Democratic anthem. I would assume that the Japanese national anthem, regardless of which party is in power, is the national anthem. So it doesn't feel like. So again, from an American perspective, singing the national anthem in and of itself doesn't feel like it's like for one party or another. I suppose in the States we have some parties who are more um, agreeable about burning the flag than other parties, but that's a separate issue, I think. But I guess in Japan, I think in Japan, then both the flag and maybe the national anthem are somehow like not officially the flag or not officially the national anthem. If somebody knows why this would be political at all, I'd be curious to know that actually.
Well, that's a good point, right? The national anthem. I mean, did the ground force defense force member come in, sing the national anthem, and leave, or did she hang around and hobnob with the members? I don't know, to tell you the truth.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, people in the so again, thinking from just an ordinary American who has never been part of the military, if somebody's in the military, they can be political, right? In the States, it's like we got, servicemen for Democrats, servicemen for Republicans, for libertarians, for that matter. So, go ahead. If I'm naive here, let me know.
I think American military personnel are restricted as to where they can, to what kind of functions they can wear their uniform. It's called the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And if you look at the restrictions of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, they sound like they're unconstitutional, but
you're talking about in the States.
Yes.
So does that mean that what you're saying is like the rule in the States is actually kind of similar to the rule in Japan?
Yeah, yes. And in fact, while we were talking, I did do a quick query, and it says there is no law in Japan that explicitly says an SDF member is barred from attending a political party function in uniform. What the law actually says, under the Self-Defense Forces Act, Article 61, SDF personnel must not engage in political acts. The law itself does not list specific situations like attending a party event or wearing a uniform at such an event. What the law does, everything hinges on one phrase. If an action is judged to be a political act, it violates the law. If not, it does not. Now, when I sent this query, the initial response was, they are not explicitly barred by law, but in practice, yes, it is effectively prohibited. And I responded by saying, I don't care about effectively or in practice. I want to know what the law says. And then the response was changed to, no, it's not barred by law. But I guess by custom in Japan, it has been the custom.
Well, going without like revisiting, but like when Japan has been spending 1% of GDP on defense for so long, even though that's like half of, say, even the Europeans and like a third of the Americans or less, raising it to 2, which is closer to the international average, feels like it's not following the precedent or the tradition, so it feels like excessive, even though on another measure it's not. So if singing the national anthem is not actually prohibited, but it is not done based on precedents, then certain news outlets might make a fuss about it.
Okay, I just checked about the United States, and it says active military personnel are specifically prohibited from engaging in certain political activities while in uniform. They cannot participate in partisan political events while in uniform. They cannot attend political fundraising activities, conventions, or rallies as a participant in uniform. And because allowing the appearance of official military of official military endorsement of a political party, or they cannot appear to endorse a candidate or party. They can attend as a private citizen, but they must not wear a uniform. This is in the United States. Okay. So in that regard, yes.
So in that case, it sounds like, so if this was judged by the U.S. law, then attending in uniform, so a political party event in uniform would be not okay. It's not about the singing of the national anthem.
Right. It doesn't, yeah.
Yeah. So as Schindler said, I suppose, I don't know, maybe what the Asahi is hinting at is the national anthem itself is a conservative national anthem because it's about the emperor, right?
Well, you know,
and no.
Well, the Asahi's been on Takaichi's back from day one. I mean, they are the Asahi after all, right?
Day minus one.
Yeah. And this is true too, what Richard in Japan points out. They both used to be unofficial, but they were later adopted as official symbols of the UCMJ. Yes, you are correct, Schindler. Right. Good. Well, I think the UCMJ has it right. You know, if you're wearing the uniform, you're representing the military. You know, you cannot wear your uniform. I don't know. It might be, maybe even out. I don't know. You cannot wear your uniform and like get online like here and say, "Oh, that Trump, what a jerk," or "Oh, that what's his name?
Biden, whoever.
Biden, yeah, Biden. You know, what a geriatric jerk. You know, if you did that, you're in big trouble. You could be brought up on charges. You know, by just criticizing a politician while in uniform. Okay, because you're representing the force that you're a member of. Okay, and Mainichi Shimbun has been backing Takaichi's cabinet and right-wing folks right from the start. Could be. How about Yomiuri? Yomiuri's I always
think Yomiuri is fairly conservative, right?
I thought so, but they go after the LDP pretty good too. So I've never been able to figure out a clear pigeonhole for Yomiuri, right? Yeah, Asahi's pretty easy to keep track of.
Sometimes it's like different parts of, like, even if they have the same Yomiuri brand, different reporters are going to have, more extreme or less extreme spins.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I've always heard Yomiuri is one of the most neutral ones. Could be. Yeah. Maybe that's why I have a hard time pigeonholing them, because they can't be. So, can military personnel in uniform participate in a color guard ceremony at a political event?
Isn't color guard require military people in uniform?
Yeah. I think maybe the military. Yes, military color guard can appear at certain events in uniform, but not at partisan political events. Okay.
So if it's the Democrats or the Republicans, then no can do.
Yeah. All right. Allowed by regulation, color guard in uniform at sporting events, memorial services, civic ceremonies, nonpartisan public events. Color guard in uniform not allowed at political party conventions, campaign rallies, fundraisers, events clearly supporting a party or candidate. So that's it. Well, the United States is pretty
strict.
Pretty restrictive, isn't it? I think the United States is really funny sometimes, because Yeah, and it's the same in Japan, right? In one way, some things are really restrictive, and and often in Japan, they're opposite things, right? Japan and America. Japan is
Mm.
really laid back on some things. America is so strict. Well, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Y'all live here, as do I. Carl, did you hear what happened in Hiroshima the other day?
Is this the other one that was on your list? I did not hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I put this on here for two reasons. And one reason is because you're an old Hiroshima fan,
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
and the other is that I've talked about this before about the you know Japan is low crime, but there are
Hmm.
certain types of crime that seem to I'm going to say happen often, but
So
happen.
so. Mm.
Go ahead.
I have heard. So actually, I was going to look up to see if like where have I heard of acid attacks or like chemical attacks. But as you just alluded to, this is not the first time I've heard this. And the other thing that you just alluded to is, in general, Japan is quite safe. And something like this, it's like, well, you never expect it. So the articles, I read the article. It seems to imply that the victim did not know the perpetrator.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's a random attack. And then from that, I was thinking, I know, am I skipping the details?
Nope. Nope. Go ahead. Go
Um,
ahead.
so somebody basically got, it says toluene, so caustic chemical splashed in their face. Um, and if so, if you put yourself in their shoes, it's like I'm just minding my business, taking the train, Japan's safe, not really worried about. I'm just like checking out my phone or whatever, and then suddenly you get acid or whatever it is in your face. That's like, oh, like then you get concerned and you get worried about just going out. It's like, do I need to stay in my car and
Yeah.
protect myself?
Yeah.
And that's kind of disheartening. But actually, so I was thinking about this before the session. I was thinking, yeah, but yes, it makes you feel bad. It's like, because then like the feeling of security that you had, it's like, well, maybe you're not supposed to feel secure. But on the other hand, in a country of 120 million people, it's like, is this a 1 in a million thing? So in the next 30 years, maybe there's like 1 in 10,000 chance this happens to me. And then you think, okay, well, maybe it's not something that I
Yeah.
really should worry
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. That's why they like to talk about crime statistics in terms of per 100,000. And you put it into
Mm.
those kind of terms, and it doesn't seem as scary as. But this particular incident, the thing that I thought of when I read this is, you remember I told you about my friend in Tochigi who used to tell me, don't put your oil cans in front of your house because
Because people might use them to burn down your house.
yeah, if you make somebody mad, they're not going to come
Hmm.
up to you and say, "Hey, you son of a gun," They'll sit there and smile at you and then go to your house in the middle of the night and set your house on fire. He actually warned me about that, my Japanese friend.
Hmm.
And that never occurred to me until he said it, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So what about you? What did you think about this? So you put it in there because of me. What was your other reason of sticking it in there?
Well, because of that getting being harmed by someone who tries to do something in a way that they are not easily caught, right? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Splash and run, and are they going to be able to catch this person or what? But or the butsukari otoko, run into somebody and stuff like that. It reminded me of what my friend told me in Tochigi long ago. Whether that's a good, I should have have remembered is another story. But anyway,
So
mhm.
was going to say the difference between your friend and Tochigi's story. In that case, they were targeting you,
Yes,
whereas in this
yes,
case, the article is written in such a way that you feel like it was just random.
random. It
It's
was
like a crime
random.
of opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't know if this counts as a crime of opportunity, but um, in which case, one, as you said, like it's hard to know the motivation, so there's like no trail to follow, especially if there's no cameras, security cameras that are following this. Um, oh, this was on the Astram line. Okay, I know the Astram line. But so I would think that they have footage, but um, the thing is like, well, what do you do? It's like there's nothing you can do to
Yeah.
prevent this.
Yeah.
So,
Stay
but
home.
so, which that's terrible. But
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a mental health issue. Again, this is just pure speculation, and my feeling is not that it's great in the U.S., but I think mental health is something that in many countries, maybe including Japan, gets sort of the can gets kicked down the road and it's not really dealt with.
Yeah, I know one streamer that I like to watch. He's always saying we got to bring back insane asylums, and sometimes I think he has a point.
Mm.
But then
I mean,
again,
no,
who decides who gets thrown in there? And all that kind of stuff, right?
well,
Yeah.
our dear leader gets to decide.
There you go. Yeah, of course, right? That's why when these you see sometimes in these trials, they by reason of insanity. Of course, he was insane. What kind of sane person would ever do something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, that's the end of our news stories. So let's open it up to the general public here. Anything you'd like to say or go back into, or in the meantime, I'm going to talk about my interview with Nobita. Nobita came. We met online, and Nobita is the guy called the Japan Reporter, and he's got a old YouTube channel. I watched that 10 years ago. He's got like 750,000 subscribers and all that. And he got in contact with me and he says, "Yeah, I'd like to interview you. Let's get together and talk for an hour." But you guys know me. 1 hour, 1 hour turned into 2 hours. And he said he wanted to talk about Japan's low birth rate. And I talked his arm and leg off about just about everything under the sun. So it was a lot of fun. And Nobita, I'll tell you what, and this is not just kissing his butt because he interviewed me. Great guy, really nice young man, and really fun to talk with. And he knows a lot of different things. And he's, I'm waiting. He said that he's going to put together a video with quotes from many different people. So I don't know what
Okay.
it's going to end up being, but when I find out what it is, maybe I'll do a companion video. I asked him if we could do a collab together, and he says, "Well, I've got a bunch of people, so collaboration is no good, but you can use my footage any way you want in your own video." So I think that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Here we
So
go.
so this is.
Mhm.
I was going to say this isn't going to be just you and him. It's going to be him with a bunch of people, and you're going to be one of the bunch of people.
Evidently, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, this one, what are your thoughts on ongoing parliamentary discussions on amending the Constitution? Well, since I have been paying attention to this, and I have been trying to find out what exactly amending the Constitution entails. On one hand, they say amending the Constitution and then start talking about the emperor lineage kind of thing, which I don't think is a constitutional issue, but a lot of stories go into that. Of course, lurking around in the background, as Schindler just posted, lurking around in the background is Article 9. And he had a series of protests against changing Article 9. And yes, we have protests around in my neighborhood too, every once in a while. And, Article 9 is a real, and actually, Nobita asked me about my feelings about Article 9 of the Constitution. We had quite an interesting discussion about that. And that is a thing. And I know Carl is itching to get into this discussion because I know what he's going to say. But anyway, I'll give you a chance in a minute. But anyway, I have not seen anybody in the government saying we have to get into discussions about changing Article 9. They always say amending the Constitution, but they don't get into details about how they want to amend it. So I'm wondering, Carl, take it.
So I'm curious how you know what I'm going to say when I don't know what I'm going to say. But so from a practical standpoint, I believe so. Obviously, the LDP has a massive majority, a historical majority in the lower house, like more than 2/3. What, like, was it 300 out of whatever it is? It's like a massive amount, and they've got that for up to 4 years. But the election where Ishiba lost all the seats was in the other house, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they either don't have majority or they barely have a majority with coalition. And so, in order to change the constitution, I think you need 2/3 in both, and that's not going to happen unless the LDP wins a landslide in the Sangin in 2028. So I know that they talking about changing the constitution has come up recently, but how is that possible before 2028? That's my question. Is that what you knew I was going to say?
Yes, about the upper house.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We've
Because
discussed
we've
this
talked
in the
about it
past.
before. Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
So I didn't want to get into that when I was talking because I knew you wanted, and I know,
Sure.
and that's a very valid point. It's easy to say amend the Constitution, but is like in America, oh, you want to get rid of guns? Okay, amend the Constitution. Those how far. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do, as it should well be. But yeah. What part do you want to amend? That is the part, I think it's going to be, I think they're purposely not saying what they want to amend in order to continue the discussion. Because as soon as they say Article 9, I mean, that's going to be, I think the uproar would be so great that it would be.
I'm not telling anybody what to do, but would from the political party that wants to change the constitution's point of view, would the prudent thing to be to do only to talk about it once you already have the 2/3 majority in both houses, and then, like, regardless of what some people say, you can do what you want. I don't know. Unless, like, let's say coming up to the 2028 election, you say, oh, well, if you would vote for us, we can change the constitution, if they think that more people are going to vote for them for that purpose. But that, yeah.
Yeah. Nobita and I were discussing something, and he said something that I think is true too. I agreed with him when he said it. And that is, in Japan, the young people seem to be becoming more and more conservative. And that's where Takaichi's big base of support comes from. And she's still very popular. I saw a news article that says Takaichi's approval rating falls. Yeah, it fell to 67% or something like that. But yeah, Japanese young people seem to be becoming more and more conservative. So if she can continue her high approval ratings as a prime minister, and then I don't know how the elections go for the upper house. I don't think she can dissolve it. Is it a set term? I don't know.
It's a set 4 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so when those elections come up, if LDP can get a strong majority, well, Wow. Look out. Hold on to your hats. Yeah. They say, Schindler says they want to have a full-fledged military instead of, a self-defense forces. And there are low-key hints of getting something nuclear. Okay. And hey, here's a good point. If Japan amends the Constitution, the United States will start calling on them. Be careful about opening that can of worms. Very, very good point, Buli.
Well, I can imagine that. So right now, Japan, by design, is dependent on the United States for Japan's protection. I mean, I guess Japan protects itself, but I think Japan pretty much needs the United States as well. And if like earlier, maybe in Trump's first term, then he's like, oh, if you don't pay more, then we're just not going to protect you anymore. And hearing threats like that, it's like, okay, well, we need to protect ourselves. So I can understand that uncertainty about protection from the United States may make some Japanese people say, well, we need to protect ourselves. We need, more more freedom in the Constitution. So I can appreciate that point of view.
And the United States would like to have a stronger Japan, I think, as a bulwark against China and North Korea, but not too strong, right? And the current political parties and climate in Japan are such that the United States can say, increase your defense spending, get more, be stronger with some confidence. But that's under current conditions, under current Japanese political conditions. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, right? I
think even the LDP under different faction or different prime minister wouldn't be, maybe Abe would have done it, but I don't think other LDP prime ministers would have been so eager to increase defense spending, seemingly at Trump's urge as the current one. So
Taro Aso.
Yeah, Taro. Maybe he would too. Yeah, but
he always looks like he's looking for a fight somewhere. That mug of his.
Yes.
Okay. They need to deal with the status of the JSDF. Times have changed since the Constitution was adopted. Today, the best defense is a powerful offense. The Constitution simply does not allow it. That's true, isn't it? Yeah, the Constitution hamstrings defense activities. About Article 9, I don't think the question is really about amendment. It's about whether the current High Court kaishaku is correct.
Kaishaku is interpretation, right?
Interpretation, right? Okay, yeah. Oh, they could always change that, can't they? I think the Japanese courts are pretty in line with the administrations. All right. Maybe that's what they're going to do at the end. Some conservative trends are quite strong in Korea too. Oh, really? Oh, I don't follow Korea that closely. Or same, not some, but same conservative trend. I know they used to be super conservative, and then they went left a little bit, and then they seem to be going left and right. The pendulum seems to be swinging. Obviously, Japan wants to strengthen its defense against China, but that will just kick in a new arms race in the region. Yeah, that's very true. North Korea is just a convenience scarecrow. Okay, yeah, a nuclear arms scarecrow at that, but yeah. Or what did Trump call him? Little Rocket Boy or something like. The key question: does stronger mean having nuclear arms? Well, yeah. If your two biggest adversaries in the neighborhood both have nuclear arms and you don't, you're basically at their mercy if the U.S. ever pulls back, which could feasibly happen, I guess. I don't know. It's a tough
Iran thinks
call.
it's a good idea to have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, yeah.
How's that working out for them?
Bad plan. The short answer is yes, but many people in Japan are clearly against that. What, having nuclear arms? Yeah,
Yeah, as you said earlier, so I think that ironically, the older generation are more anti-nuclear than the younger generation. Maybe because they didn't grow up with like the memory of the generation one before them having been killed by a nuclear weapon. So
yeah, yeah. Using nuclear arms to extract money and humanitarian aid. Yeah, well, they used to do that before they had nuclear power too, right? The Pueblo and all that kind of stuff.
when did North Korea get nuclear weapons? Do you
I
know?
don't know. No,
Before my
no.
time.
I have no. Maybe not that long ago.
Well, for you, not that long ago might be 40 years ago, but
There you. Hey, you whippersnapper!
it's
Watch that.
as long as I've been in Japan, I think they've had nuclear weapons. So it wasn't like new. North Korea gets nuclear weapons, so it's got to be more than 30 years.
First nuclear test. Oh, geez. 2009 was the second one.
Really?
2006. 2006.
Really? Seems like they've had it forever.
Yeah, doesn't it? Doesn't it? They've been causing trouble forever, that's for sure. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Schindler knows his stuff. Mid 2000s, as you said.
Yeah. But North Korea's, remember, they're known for being whack jobs too. I mean, even more than other whack jobs. I mean, look at what they have done over history, and not nuclear wise, but well, they tried to, didn't they try to invade the South during the 1970s or something like that? They sent commando teams into South Korea to assassinate politicians and things. You didn't know that, did you?
MASH happened during the Korean War, right? So wasn't that the 1950s?
No, it wasn't the Korean War. It was
This is way after the Korean War. Okay, so the Korean War was the 1950s, and then we had Vietnam after that.
Yes.
And then what you're talking about is something else in the 1970s.
Just a minute, please.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Keep talking.
I remember back in, I want to say 2002, or was 2002, 2003, the World Cup was jointly held in Japan and South Korea. And that was shortly after, I want to say the TV show was Fuyu no Sonata, which kicked off the Kanryu boom in Japan. And post 2002, it seems like, at least from the Japanese side, that Japan and South Korea have been getting better, getting along much better than they did before. And that makes me very pleased because I think they should get along. Although they still have comfort women issues, but anyway.
Okay, I sort of overstated it. It wasn't really an invasion. They had a commando raid called the Blue House Raid. It was in 1968. And 31 North Korean commandos, Unit 124, infiltrated Seoul. They were disguised as South Korean soldiers, got within a few hundred meters of the Blue House, which is the presidential residence, and their mission was to assassinate Park Chung-hee. And the plot was uncovered at the last minute. There was a fierce fight, and most commandos were killed. One was captured.
Interesting. So that's why you said crazy plan. I did not know about that.
Did you know about the Rangoon bombing?
No.
The entire entire South Korean cabinet or many members of the South Korean government were at a event in Rangoon, and North Korean agents planted a bomb, and the explosion occurred during a presidential ceremony, and 17 South Korean officials were killed, including cabinet members. Didn't know that, did you?
Didn't know that. We have a. I didn't know you commented about mini subs, and yes, I remember North Korea having mini subs. I think came to Japan as well, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's all a matter of selection of vocabulary. Okay. Who's that? Hey, boys! Greetings from America. Pac NW. Hey, Patrick. How you doing?
Pacific Northwest?
Yeah, sounds like Pacific Northwest. Okay. Greetings, Patrick. Clandestine ops in the 1970s. Okay. North Korea sent mini subs to South Korea many times. Yep. Yeah, and then the time at the demilitarized zone, Americans were pruning some trees, and North Korean soldiers showed up with axes and killed a number of American soldiers.
Chopped down more than just trees.
Yeah. Usually they get repelled or killed. Yeah, that's the downside of being a North Korean commando. When were the Japanese
I was going to ask the exact same thing.
Kidnapped and taken to North Korea? Well, they were kidnapped over a period of years. And not only Japanese, there were abductees from various different countries taken to North Korea. I don't have the exact dates, but I can see them in a minute. For your information, 2022, Kim Jong-un officially declared South Korea a separate state. That's nice of him.
As opposed to like one nation that's fighting with itself.
Yeah. Okay. One nation under God, so to speak, huh? Okay. I shouldn't do that. That's being impolite. Sorry about that, Schindler.
60s and 70s for the abductees, maybe.
Nuclear button label should say press to end the country. Yeah, wasn't there during the first Trump administration? They were talking about, they were saber rattling, and somebody in the Trump administration said they better cut it out before we turn them into a parking lot or something like that, which I thought was pretty cool. Go ahead, Carl. I'm giving you a couple seconds.
I forget, did Trump go to North Korea in the
Yes,
first?
he did.
Did he?
Yes,
okay. Did he bring Rodman with him? Rodman's been to North Korea.
Yeah, he was. I think we have
both. We have both benefited from the services of Dennis Rodman, both the Bulls and the Pistons.
Yeah. Yes. Rodman, I think, offered his services. But the government. Okay, the main period was 1977, 1978, and that's when the majority of known abductions. There were additional cases in the early 1970s and possibly in the early 1980s. Okay?
Okay.
These are the Japanese abductions. And Schindler says correctly that DPRK used abductees to train their undercover agents. Yeah. Did you ever hear, remember the famous one? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, you're familiar with Monty Python?
Yeah.
There's a skit. It's something like a Hungarian phrase book. And so there's a phrase book where it says, like, I would like some tobacco, and the translation is, may I fondle your buttocks? And so the Hungarian person comes into British tobacco shop and he wants to buy some tobacco and he says something lewd and he gets slapped in the face and he complains about the bad translation. So I was just thinking maybe the abductees could do something like that to the undercover agent.
By the way, that was one of my favorite Monty Python skits.
Yeah,
I think
I mean,
he
totally
had a
absurd. Yes.
he had a phrase book that was misaligned or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
Exactly.
that. Love that one. Yeah. Okay, so it says that Trump revealed that the U.S. op plan for North Korea involved more than 80 nuclear weapons in the first hour. Okay.
The problem with that for somebody living in Japan is that the wind blows this way. So
There's that too, right? There's that too.
yeah.
And we always have to remember what happened the last time the United States got involved on the Korean Peninsula. It's getting up to the Yalu River. That might be
It's still there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the United States is still there. So.
Yeah, I talked to a guy who was in Korea, and he said, everything was going great, and then one day they were, guarding their post, and they look over, and this massive horde of Chinese soldiers were coming in, and they couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't kill them fast enough, basically. Yeah, just too many. Yeah. Okay. All right, we got into some pretty interesting stuff, pretty serious stuff. And North Korea, yeah. And we're getting near the 2-hour mark. So I'd like to say, as usual, thank you for everybody for coming. Let me run my banner one more time. So if you please, I'm sure everybody here is subscribed, but if you can like this live stream and maybe leave a comment on the finished live stream, it helps to get it out there. And I'm going to be back here on Wednesday, and Carl and I will be back here on next Saturday, I believe. I got a couple of videos coming up. It's going to be one of them's going to be a new video. I've got some data about what people were deported for and why they lost their visa status last year or the year before. And it's revealing, and it talks about some people did lose their permanent residence. Every time I talk about visas, people who are on permanent residence get a little bit worried, but there is something in the data about permanent residence that is very interesting, and it will tell you you don't have much to worry about. And I've got another video coming up that's going to be talking about I went home to America and came back again. It's not, I'm not going to be talking about that content, but I'm going to be talking about some of the comments that I've been getting, especially from Japanese people and some Japanese people, most Japanese people who commented were very nice and very understanding. Some Japanese people totally misunderstood what I was trying to say. And so I'm going to be doing a follow-up video explaining what I was trying to say. I think you all know, but it does need some clarification. So thank you very much for coming, everybody. Thank you, Schindler. Your contributions, as usual, were very great, very educational, very helpful. And thank you, Richard in Japan. And we'll see all of you others at the videos and at our next live stream. And looking forward to seeing you there. Yes, sir.
I have one question. So as
Yes,
a
sir.
YouTube expert, so are you familiar with this hype function now?
Yep.
So so sometimes I'm given the option to hype a video. When would I be able to hype your videos?
You should be able to already, but
I think sometimes there's an option, and then sometimes the option isn't there.
There are certain, I can't remember exactly what they are. There are, so much time has to have elapsed after publication, and if it goes past a period of time, hyping is no longer possible. Some of my videos have been hyped. Some have gotten as many as 4 hypes. And I'll tell you what, hyping helps a lot. I mean,
Okay.
it does
So
boost the.
there's a Goldilocks zone for hyping.
Yes,
Too
yes.
early, no good. Too late, no
Too late,
good.
little good.
It
Yeah,
has to
I'll
be
see if I
just
can.
right.
I'll see if I can find some numbers and get back to you on that. Yeah, but good
If I could,
question.
if I could set my watch, it's like, okay, hyping available now on its videos. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, I'll click that
yeah,
hype button.
yeah. And
So,
and every time you hype, I feel it. I feel it
okay.
from the bottom of my heart.
Woohoo!
Okay,
Okay.
everybody, have a
All
nice
right. See you
weekend.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, oh, oh,